This issue's been raging here in Lansing for like 5 years.
Yeah, because I had the bills before.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
I know Governor Snyder vetoed a similar package earlier, and Governor Whitmer has already expressed similar thoughts about this approach. How do you respond to that criticism, and why advance a bill that you know the administration might not back?
Well, I'm hoping she will, because as a senator, she did vote in favor of this legislation. It passed unanimously in the Senate. It passed overwhelmingly in the House when I did it. It's just there are certain groups that are just bound and determined to classify a utensil as a tobacco product, and I find that odd because, number one, it may not contain any tobacco, and I want to preclude any use of it for minors, which this legislation does. Mm-hmm. And so I don't care if they put marijuana in it. I don't care if they put bubble gum in it. I don't want them to have access to these devices.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's what this legislation does.
What is the concern then about classifying it as tobacco? That products?
Yeah, I'm really not sure why they're adamantly in favor of that strategy.
Yeah.
Certainly, I don't know if there's certain monies that flow through with the Tobacco Act that
you worried
that
it's an avenue for taxation?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I just know this is pretty simple legislation. Mm-hmm. We want to keep it out of the hands of kids. Yeah. And this legislation does that. Again, the governor, as a senator, voted in favor of this, and I'm hoping that she'll continue along that path, and we'll see.
Sure. Senator Bullock, what got you involved in this, and why do you think this is the right approach?
I'm 30 years of social service and working with youth around the country. I just see the effects of the e-cigarettes and the vaping. I have 3 high schoolers, and the access in which they can get these devices was a concern for me. I just wanted to make sure that it's behind the counter, you're over 18. And I mean, the long-term plan may be something different, but right now we just want to get it out of the hands of the young people.
Now, the FDA did pass regulations in 2016 that I believe generally prohibit sales to anyone under. Why do we need a state law?
No criminal penalties in this state, so every other state has criminal penalties associated with, other than us.
Who's penalized in this bill? The buyers or the sellers?
Both. So it'll follow the same path as the Tobacco Act as far as, although we've upped the penalties a little bit.
Yeah, little bit of upping the penalties and financial commitment for the vendors. Soft penalties for the young people, community service for buying, things like that. We don't want to put a criminal record on young folks.
Yeah.
But the vendors who are the bad actors are who we're really going after.
Gotcha.
Senator, did you say that Michigan's the only state now?
That's my understanding.
So the federal law states that you can't sell e-cigarettes and devices to you 18 and under. However, Michigan is the only state that doesn't have a penalty on the books for this act.
And we could have done this 5 years ago. I mean, this should have been done. You know, it's amazing. Some of the simplest things that you think should just fly through in Lansing sometimes hit the biggest roadblocks. I don't know why that is, but this is pretty simple. You know, just keep it out of the hands of kids.
Sure.
Is there a possibility if you pass this legislation, could you always come back and reclassify it as tobacco if that's
We could. There's no prohibition in this legislation that prohibits that, but this is
This was simple and easy and something we can act on now to get it out the hands of our young people.
Is there anything significantly different about this version of the bills than what was vetoed by the governor? They're basically the same.
Basically the same.
Are there any differences at all?
Yeah, I think some of the penalties maybe we tweaked them a little bit, but for the most part, by and large, it's the same legislation.
Yeah, similar. I can't remember what the tweaks were. As I came into the Senate and started, this was a concern of mine, and found out that Outman had been working on it. So we just worked collaboratively and did what we had to do.
Did the legislator previously consider a veto override? If these things are passing unanimously, would you consider that this time?
I don't know. We hadn't. I guess we always have that tool in our tool belt. I don't know why we didn't consider it last time with the overwhelming support of it, but we didn't. So.
What was it vetoed late in the year? Was that possibly a reason? Or?
It's so hard to remember. It was 2015. I don't remember, but I don't know why we didn't consider it.